So now you may understand what this particular online course is all about, all right? Let's go a little bit into the deliverables of the Applied Fundamentals course for you, and in turn for you as an instructor for your students, all right? So let's just talk about live fire for a second, and a lot of live fire courses, because, of course, we all need to live fire, but there's 3 skills that you can only train on the range, and are not possible to train off the range, right? Just by the nature of, shooting a live projectile. First one is recoil management. Okay, the recoil management, returning the muzzle down to a consistent location, not getting rocked back, flinching back. You can only ultimately test and verify that on the range. Now in this class, we can do some acclimation and certain drills to make sure you're in a good position for recoil management, but actual true recoil management only be trained on the range. Force equals mass times acceleration. That accelerating bullet puts a big force on you, which we have to learn how to address. That's the first one, recoil management. Second thing you can only train on the range is slide lock stimulus. That distinct feeling of slide lock, which feels different, and now you know you have a paperweight in your hand to hit a speed reload, that can only be trained on the range, and that should be trained with magazines that are partially filled and what have you. Third skill that can only be trained on the range is malfunction, recognition, and clearance. So if there's some kind of goofy malfunction, double feed, anything, all the tap rack, the recognition and clearance, that really can only effectively be trained on the range. You can train some malfunction clearances, but that stimulus and response of that's a malfunction and clearing it, again, that's something to train on the range by putting empty brass and mags and what have you. So we're not going to cover any of those topics, all right? We're going to stay pretty much focused on here and what we do off the range in a SIRT fire based course, which let's talk about that next video. So an applied fundamental SIRT based course, what is that? What's that all about? Well, what we have on that is bridging the gap between what we can do on the range and then what we kind of have to do in reality, all right, the real world, that scary place outside a range. Because a range has safety protocols for darn good reason, right? We got to make sure there's no catastrophic injury. We got to have the 180 rule. Obviously there's no moving no-shoots, live no-shoots in front of you like we do with the progressor drill. So there's a lot of strict protocols to make that range training sustainable and safe, all right, without question. But let's think about that real world. Like if there's any defensive accuracy that we have to train for, well, I mean, there's a 360 range out there. We got to think 360. We have moving no-shoots. We have compromised shooting positions. We have high-angle shooting, which you really can't do on a range because it's going to go over the berm, all right, in a lot of places. Then you got to work the draw and some manipulation skills, if not just skills, which is beyond the scope of this course, but, we can draw manipulation, things like that, all right? A lot we have to train, and that's where the SIRT pistol is beautiful. And if you want to extend it further, there's force on force training, there's low light training, there's vehicle training, there's a lot, okay? But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. This course is really going to go to the most important of all that, the predecessor, the applied fundamentals. So we have a good methodical way of getting grip and grip establishment and doing our point shooting and draw and what have you, and give you the best tools to put on a course where you really take advantage on how this pistol, the SIRT training pistol, is in that Goldilocks region where it's girthy enough. Even our plastic polymer slide performers, it has that feel that students naturally give it respect, all right? But also they know it won't go boom. So it fits in that Goldilocks zone of that there's enough respect, but they know it's not going to jump up and bounce around and just start doing damage to everyone. Some students have that kind of fear, as I think we all know. So, all right, let's go to the next block of instruction here and talk about implementing the safety rules.